Let's shine by seeing the best in all of us and by looking out for each other. Let's stay healthy. Let's shine together.
Hi, I'm Sherry Harlan, program host for Let's Talk Together. And today we are going to discuss self-care. And our guests today are Deidra Hopkins and Michlynn Gaddis from our Outpatient Behavioral Health at Behavioral Health Center at Reid Health. And welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
And before we get started, if you can share a little bit about how you came to Reid and your journey since you've been at Reid. So who's starting?
I'll start. My name is Deidra Hopkins. I originally came to Reid in 2018. Before that, I went to Miami University and got an associate's degree in criminal justice and public administration. I went to IU East later and got a degree in sociology. And then in 2024, I graduated from IUPUI. I worked with Reid in a secretary role as well as an OA while I was going to school. And then now I am a therapist at the Outpatient Health.
And Michlynn?
My journey started out right out of high school. I went to Ball State University. Life got in the way, and so family, kids, that kind of thing. And then I landed back at IU East and finished up my bachelor's degree in social work. And then I fast-tracked into IUPUI, obviously in Indianapolis, with my master's degree, and was in community mental health for a lot of years, and came to Reid in 2021 as an outpatient therapist there. Started on J Street, and now we're over there on the cool new office on 1915 Chester.
Oh, great. We're happy to have you both at Reid. And so we're discussing self-care. We hear a lot about self-care. So what exactly is self-care?
Self-care is, I feel like it's one of those things that we don't do enough of, but self-care is being able to recognize, kind of like taking a time for yourself, scheduling a time to really be mindful of what you're needing, and that could be all kinds of different things. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about what self-care can be defined as, but self-care is being able to take some time out of a busy life, a busy schedule, busy work life, and just really taking some time for yourself for a little bit. Yeah.
And why is self-care important?
Self-care is important due to the fact that, you can't really help someone else unless you're helping yourself. The combination of pouring from an empty cup comes to mind. It also helps improve your mental health by reducing stress and anxiety, depression. It also leads you to better physical health. Sometimes self-care can be exercise or healthy eating, and we really harp on this, and our practice is sleep care. You got to get to sleep to make the next day better. It also increases your happiness and your satisfaction in life and in your job overall. And it also gives you some increased resilience.
And often, I know I've been guilty of it as well. You're so busy saying, I have to get this done,
Mm-hmm.
that you forget to make time for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's a common misconception of self-care?
I think one of the things that, I feel like comes up a lot with people is this idea that it has to be a luxury, right? That it has to cost money, or I can't afford that, and we kind of want to make sure that we're identify that it can be that, but it can be so much more, right? And I talk a lot with patients, you know, and other people that I work with, my coworkers, this idea that it could be just as simple as going for a walk, or it could be as simple as, you know, taking time to watch your favorite TV show. It doesn't have to come with this expensive, luxurious kind of price tag. And we kind of want to just reiterate that to people and really kind of redefine that it can be what you need it to be. It doesn't have to be something that's, you know, hard on your budget.
And we all need to learn that part.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what are some ideas for self-care?
One of the ones that I've run into is that I'm not a nature person. I don't like outdoors, but where we are at the building, the 1950 building, there is a woods out back, and I have been able to go and walk the trail line and see animals and all sorts of fun stuff out there, and that kind of brings you back to a mindful place of being grounded and, hey, you know, this is really nice. Also, anything really that kind of gets like bubble baths after a long day at work, you know, doing something for yourself.
And when you're thinking of something for yourself, and that's the biggest thing, is just some other ideas like a puzzle.
Yeah, a puzzle.
Absolutely. I think one of the things too that I just had this conversation actually yesterday with somebody. It can be like a creative outlet as well, right? Like, so if you're a crafty person, it could be, hey, let's sit down and, wow, I really want to do this. Or, yeah, it's puzzle time. You know, sit down and kind of work on your jigsaw puzzle. My thing is Legos. And so I'm really a proponent of whatever is a creative outlet for you. And again, not to say that it has to be a certain like artistic kind of thing. It can be music, or it can be reading a book, or even your favorite TV show. And maybe it is just about sitting out in nature and listening to some, you know, green noise.
Well, maybe I paid more attention to it because I know that we were talking about self-care.
Yeah.
But I was in a group setting of a different coalition, and they, Meso Solutions, another group that's in Wayne County, talked about some different self-care ideas,
Yeah.
and one was just they had a whole word search just on self-care.
That's a great idea.
And
Right. Yeah.
and so then, like you said, just resetting. What are you thinking about? How am I going to get to that? Another thing I think I shared with you, I'm in the car a lot,
Yeah.
going from different places, and there's a station that I listen to that if I'm in the car at 10 o'clock, I know that they're going to, it's a little song, and she just talks, it's like a meditation, like breathe in, breathe out,
Right.
breathe in, breathe out. And now I catch myself like, oh, it's time for it's time for my little breathe in, breathe out. But as you said, it resets you.
Absolutely.
I think those kinds of little activities like that is that mindfulness that we need that catches us of, wow, let's just kind of be present, right? Because I think sometimes we get so busy in our, you know, everyday routine that we feel like, well, we have to hurry up and get this done. But then that little, oh, it's that time, right? Let me be present, right? Let me take a breath and kind of, reset in a way that it's like everything else kind of just gets pushed out a little bit.
Right.
You can, yeah.
And it's interesting because even if I'm not really paying attention, by hearing that little song that
Sure.
they play every day, then it reminds me, oh, I forgot to do that today. So
Absolutely.
Right, absolutely.
it's really great on that. What are some other ideas for self-care?
Meditation, like you said, that's great. Exercises like yoga or Tai Chi, that kind of, you can do guided meditation as well. I mean, on YouTube you can search like, I have 10-minute guided meditation on, whatever's bothering you. And it's just 10 minutes that you take out of your day just so you can have the time to reset. So getting a good night's sleep is one of the really big ones. It helps your brain to relax and reset. Taking a walk, like I said, Let's see, getting your hair done or a massage. Those cost money, but they help you out a lot with your self-care and your image. Hobbies, any sort of hobbies that you can think of. My son does trains, he loves that. Or spending time with friends. Sometimes it's just nice to get out of the house and have that time with your friends as well.
And just a lot of times just being around friends and laughter.
Oh yeah.
It's always a good thing as well. When you were talking about the good news about being on the Reid campus, even if you're not at the main campus, we have such nice walking trails, different things around the buildings. So,
Absolutely.
and we encourage people to take walks because sometimes it can be very stressful being in a healthcare setting.
Absolutely.
I think that, I mean, it's interesting and so true that you say that. And we are 1915. We are really, I don't want to say envious, but I feel like it's so much different than when we were on J Street, right? J Street is a very busy street. And so being back here on 1915, it's just like, wow, we're really out in the nature, you know? And we're just kind of around the corner from the hospital. But it is that, I can't tell you how many times patients will sit in my office and just be able to see the birds out the window, right? Or just to be able to kind of see the trees. And I've taken a couple kids out for walks, and it is just that, I don't know, there's just something about that ambiance that really helps people kind of just be present in the moment and take a deep breath so they can, you know, get on with the rest of their day.
I mean, including in that ambiance, just even at the hospital itself and seeing people, you can look out into little grassy areas. It's also pretty interesting if you're looking out, especially from patient sides, and you see deer and little bunnies around, so that can get your focus.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Kind of does bring your stress level down too when it's kind of, you know, whether it's work or, you know, you've had a stressful, like, you know, right before lunch and then you take lunch and you can kind of reset. It really does. Those kinds of things, right? Just, I don't know, you're right. They do reset your mind, but also give you something else to focus on other than just the stress of your job, right? I feel like that's why self-care can be really important in all kinds of settings. It just allows us to keep going forward, you know?
And can either one, you have a story that you could share with us about a self-care with a patient or a success story?
Well, I think that's a great question. This was yesterday, and I was talking with a kiddo, and we were kind of brainstorming about what would be some ideas, because they have a lot of anxiety around a procedure and stuff. And so we were really trying to be mindful of how to kind of break that anxiety for this person. And so one of the things for this person is that they were drawing, right? And so we wanted to kind of add to the list of other things that they could do throughout their day, right? And so one of those was another type of kind of puzzle activity. Another one, we came up with Legos. Because these were things that they were already naturally drawn to, right? So, and maybe that doesn't work for everybody, but also it's about that conversation of what does work. What does your, you know, kind of what does your mind want to be drawn to, or what does your heart, like music is a big one for a lot of people too, or can be. So it's just about brainstorming, and I was like, yeah, I really want to try that, or yeah, that sounds like that would really be helpful in kind of breaking some of that anxiety up for her or for that person. And I feel like, you know, that brainstorming was really beneficial for that person.
And the good news is, and like you said, it's the individual.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
something that you might love to do, and you're saying, okay, Sherry, now you can do it. And it's like, not so much. But
Absolutely.
Right.
and so then you're like, no, your idea and my idea is two separate things.
Absolutely. And you always want to have that therapeutic alliance too, that, you know, hey, these are the things that I know that works. What works for you? The one that I usually use is the sleep hygiene the most, because once you get a good night's sleep, you can really tackle the next day. And a couple of people are like, no, that's not really going to help me. And then they come back and be like, the sleep has helped. So that's what I've usually been, first things first.
And speaking of sleep, Do you have some ideas on getting people to sleep or
Routine and less blue light stuff. So don't be on your phone scrolling while you're in your bed. Only keep your bed as your bed to sleep. You don't have to take anything in there. You don't have to read or anything like that. So it trains your body, oh, I'm in bed, I can sleep now.
Another thing that I talk to, especially I feel like with kiddos about, is really kind of figuring out what helps them relax. Because a lot of times I'll have kiddos say, I've got racing thoughts, I just can't sleep, right? So we kind of want to break up that cycle that happens for them. Their body's like ready to, but their mind's like, no, it's not time to sleep. So we really try to explore what kind of like sound might be helpful. So sometimes for kiddos particularly, it is like a nature sound or like a rainstorm or like trickling water. It can be a lot of things like that. I have a lot of kiddos also that really enjoy. I had one kiddo tell me that they really like to fall asleep to Christmas music. So whatever that is for them. Again, it's personalized, but there are all kinds of apps out there as far as like, YouTube. There are other apps you could kind of look up that really increase those serotonin levels for us and really want us to get into that routine of a good sound sleep. And I think some of those tools can be helpful in inducing that for people. Yeah.
That's great. We have, we're looking at the different resources and some that we would recommend. I know we have a slide coming up.
Absolutely. Is this mine or is this yours?
We can both talk about it.
Okay. Absolutely. Like we were talking about the guided meditation, there's so many out there and they're usually 10, 15 minutes. A lot of times I've been able to find one that works better than others, but it's, like you said, it's personal. You just get to try it out and see what works. Listening to nature sounds, what we call green noise, so that's like birds and leaves rustling and that kind of stuff. Going to the parks. There are tons of parks here in Richmond. You can pick one. Glen Miller's always a good one. There's always ducks and stuff in the pond and everybody's hustling and bustling, but it's pretty quiet out that way.
The Cardinal Greenway is another good place that's local, has some trailheads that you can find and hop on. One of the positives about the Cardinal Greenway is that it's paved, so it might be accessible for more people. Like it's not gravel, right? It's all the way paved, and so that's usually clear of debris. So that might be a better access point for some people. Yeah. And
I'm thinking of some other resources, and a lot of now we can't forget not to downplay your expertise.
Yeah, no,
but sometimes
absolutely.
if you're at home and you just want to Google something.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I have a lot of kids, though, that will use YouTube. That's a big one. But I have also had kiddos that come in and say they've tried different apps, right? And again, I think it's that personalized, like one will tell me this app, like it's a Calm app, and they're like, no, that one didn't work for me. So it is a Google search. Maybe it's word of mouth, too, among, friends or whatever, too, sure.
And when people they're thinking about to come see you, or do they need a referral? Do they just call, or what happens?
They need a referral from a doctor, and then we will give them a call to schedule off of that once we get it approved through insurance first. It usually takes about a month or so for us to kind of get in the grind of that. So
you're the team that keeps everything calm and moving. So
trying.
I like to always explain that working at Reid is like having it's like being in a big city. And so it's anywhere from, if you were into numbers, we have like accounting and our revenue cycle.
Sure.
Anywhere from our engineering department, from keeping the place clean. We have people that want to cook. We have food nutrition.
Sure.
And of course, we have all these our wonderful doctors and nurses. So it all just, it's like being in a city. And so I do a lot of speaking, especially
Sure.
at schools.
Oh, yeah.
And so often people here at a hospital, and what can I do? And so I like to say, well, anything you'd like to do can be pretty much.
Sure.
We need those particular types of your interest as well as your expertise.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so along with that, we get to bring in people that are what you do, because a lot of people don't understand that all the work that we have with therapists.
Outpatient behavioral definitely is one of those things that's kind of like, wow, we have to talk to people. But yeah, we do exist, and it's really not that painful. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a saying in the office all the time that therapists need therapists. It's so true. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's important to talk about stuff and kind of learn new stuff from other, our patients. I learn all the time. I think we learn from each other, and so we want to have that environment for people to come and talk about this stuff, whatever that is for everybody. So
And as we were doing that, so share something. And I'll ask each individual that you would like people to know, either right before coming to therapy, or even the waiting process, maybe something that a parent could help.
For me, I think that it's important that so when I meet with kiddos, that there is a parenting piece that can be with that, right? So there is some parenting, like exchange of my kiddos got some depression or got some anxiety. We would really like some help with that, of understanding that. So that is part of my practice, in my office, and being able to invite parents in or have a session with a parent and then, with the kiddo. So those exist. That type of service exists for us, and I think it's an important piece for maybe parents to understand, is that that can be like the very healing process for everybody, is to kind of learn how to work together. Yeah, so maybe some people don't think about it like that, but I feel like that's kind of an evolving thing. Yeah.
I think I'd just like people to know that we are people too, and that, the more honest you are, the better we can get down to the issues as well. It's okay if you're reluctant to say a big issue or something like that, but the more open you are to it, the better it's going to be.
Yeah, therapy's hard sometimes, right? And it can be intimidating, and I think sometimes that stigma of talking about things is like, well, I don't want to do that. I'll just deal with it on my own. I'll just, So we want to kind of just open that up a little bit, and it's like, well, let's figure this out together, and through that, great stuff happens. Healing happens, and,
Absolutely.
You learn self-care too along the way.
Yeah.
So.
It all goes back to self-care as well.
Absolutely.
I didn't want to overlook that, but one of the things when you were saying with parents and family members, if you have someone coming in there, and it's a team effort.
Absolutely. It is a team effort, especially when we're having specific, things that the parent is just having a hard time with, or maybe they want to really help their kid, but they just don't really know how. And so it is that team approach. It's that brainstorming, of here's some things that I've read on, and so then it just opens up the conversation and can make those recommendations for parents. And sometimes it's really very helpful, and ultimately helps the kiddo and the whole family, right? So yeah, that's the exciting part of therapy, is those success
So everybody
stories.
doesn't take it personal.
Exactly.
Right.
And getting therapy in general for both the parents and the child and for the entire family is not a bad thing.
Not at all.
And so I am thinking people come in sometimes pretty hesitant.
Yes.
I have people come in all the time that are hesitant, regardless of man, woman, boy, girl, any of that, regardless of any of that, there is this hesitancy, that stigma that persists out there, so it's about kind of just kind of breaking that apart in that first session and just really making it an inviting space for people to, wow, I can figure stuff out in here, or I can really feel better. That's a goal.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And that's the magicianship of your job.
Right. That's funny you say that, because I have this saying all the time that if I had a magic wand, that would make my job so much easier, right? But so let's do this together. Let's figure it out, and we'll, I'll help you get to some of those solutions that you're looking for. So just being that kind of catalyst for people to want to, feel like they can change, that they have the answers.
Absolutely.
You said, when I said magician, and then you talked about the magic wand. Mm-hmm. We have, I work with someone, and their big thing is a magic wand. Yeah. And they've said it so much that we have this magic wand we pass around. And it's amazing, the people get that magic wand and they swear they have a microphone. And then they start to talk, and it really loosens up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Especially in group settings.
Yeah,
so then people don't overtalk each other. But people are real excited to have that. So get your magic wand.
I think I might do that. Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good idea.
It is a good idea. I was just thinking about that. Yeah.
And it's amazing that it just changes the room, the tone.
The anxiousness, because I think that there is some of that with therapy as well, is that, wow, I'm a stranger, right? Someone comes and sits in my office and I have to talk to a stranger. So I feel like working hard to develop that relationship as quickly as we can so that they are comfortable. Anyways, I think that's important.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, we want to thank you both for joining us today, and hopefully our audience has learned more about self-care, and we will have information on how to get in touch with your office.
Absolutely.
And we would like to thank you for joining us today on Let's Talk Together.
Let's shine by seeing the best in all of us and by treating you here, right in your hometown. Let's look out for each other. Let's stay healthy. Let's shine together.